Hello everyone, I hope you are all doing well. Thank you so much for tuning in, and if you are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Abby. In today's video, I'm going to share the cost of buying land in Zimbabwe, along with some of the extra fees that you should be aware of. So if you're thinking about buying land, this video is definitely for you. And just a quick disclaimer before we dive in, I'm not a professional advisor, so please make sure you do your own research and seek professional guidance, because every situation is different and what worked for us might be different for you. So our preferred location was Bulawayo, and our goal was to find land that would allow us to do some small-scale farming while leaving enough space for a big residential yard. So we were fortunate enough to find a piece of land that was perfect for us and within our budget, and our budget was 50k. We didn't want to spend more than 50k US dollars. So the plot that we found was 4 acres in size, and the location does allow for small-scale farming. So I'm just gonna go through the fees and the amounts that we paid for the land. And as you can see on the video, this is basically just like a walk around of the land, what the land looks like currently. And I'm also going to include a clip of what the land was like when we first bought it. So a lot hasn't changed. It's still pretty much the same as what it was when we first bought it, but I'm just showing the size of the land is very big, and the soils there are quite fertile, which is good for farming. So at the time of purchase, we paid around 35k US dollars for the land, plus other fees that you would need to pay if you're buying land. Please remember that we bought ours a while ago, so prices would have gone up since we bought ours, so keep that in mind if you're looking to buy land. So one of the fees that you would need to pay for is legal fees, and this will cover the lawyer services for drafting the agreements of sale, verifying ownership, and registering the property in your name. For us, we paid around 1,600 US dollars for this, but that will obviously depend on what your lawyer is charging, because obviously everybody's different, and it also depends on the size of your land as well. Another payment that needs to be made is stamp duty. So the stamp duty depends on the price of the land that you are purchasing. For example, ours was 35k. So for that land, for the land between 20k and 100k, you pay around 3% of the value plus 370 US dollars. So you'd pay 3% of the value of your land plus a flat fee, which will vary depending on where you bought the land and the size of the land. So the stamp duty is the legal responsibility of the person buying the land. It must be paid before the deed registry can be transferred. The third cost is conveyancing fees, which is also usually around 3% of the property value plus a flat rate. That also depends on the council that you bought from and the size of your land. Another cost, which is also 3% of the purchase price, would be the transfer fees to transfer the title, which is also 3%. And then there is the rates clearance certificate, and this needs to be done before the title deeds can be processed. So the seller will pay whatever is in arrears. So if they're owing, it means they have to pay and be up to date, and then you can get the rates clearance certificate. And usually what you would do as the buyer, you would then pay for a few months in advance. Like, let's say for example you buy the stand in January, your seller would pay up to January, and then you would pay maybe pay up to March. You don't usually have to, but that's what most buyers do often. And then there is also capital gains tax, and this is paid by the seller. It's not paid by the person who's buying the land. And the capital gains tax is basically because you're making profit off that land. It's just the tax that you pay of that profit that you've made from selling the land. You would also need to budget for some miscellaneous cost. So think of things like transport, paperwork, copies of facilitation fees if you're working with agents, and there might be some other cost that would probably come up that I may not have mentioned, and most likely they will. They may not be like very high cost, but you should always set aside a budget for miscellaneous cost. So for us, our land was around 35k, and in total we spent just over 38k. So the extra cost on top of what the price of the land was, just over 3k. I would say maybe if you budget a good 3 to 5k extra, and that obviously I'm talking about my budget and the cost of my land. So depending on what your land cost, you can decide and work out how much extra you need to budget. And one of my biggest tips when you're buying land, always engage a lawyer. Don't try to navigate this process alone, because there are laws, regulations, and procedures that you may not be familiar with, and a good lawyer will guide you through the process and make sure everything is done properly. And also, you don't need to rush things. I know sometimes when you've got the money ready and you want to buy the land, like you want to do it quick and get it out of the way. But honestly, sometimes you will have to go through many viewings in order to find the land that you want. For example, for ourselves, we were close to buying 2 other pieces of land that we found, and which were very good for us. But after doing some due diligence, we just found out that it wasn't going to work out for us. And this was at the stage where we had done the agreements of sale and everything. Like, so you really have to take your time, make sure everything is legit, and that you won't get scammed, or you won't pay your money and end up with nothing, or you pay someone your money and you end up having to reverse the whole thing. Rushing is just not worth it. So make sure you're taking your time and really looking around, asking professionals, going to the council, going to the deeds office, and making sure that all is in order before you pay anyone any money. So yeah, that's my experience and all the legal fees that I know of that I think will be helpful for anyone who's buying land in Zimbabwe to know about. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that this video was helpful. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much.